He stuffed the girl's mouth full of marbles, then pulled out a lengthy manuscript and demanded she read it in 1 minute. Unexpectedly, the girl had barely begun when she swallowed one, but the man merely waved his hand dismissively and immediately stuffed a new marble into her mouth. This almost perverse test actually stemmed from a bet between two successful gentlemen, wagering whether she could transform from a street beggar into a high society lady within 6 months. The story goes like this. Eliza was originally a flower girl on the streets of London. Not only was she disheveled and dressed in rags, but she also spoke with a repulsively coarse accent. Her sales pitches were as ear-piercing as a slaughtered pig's squeal, which quickly earned her the merciless mockery of a man. Professor Henry believed that someone as vulgar as her shouldn't be allowed to exist in society. Eliza could only protest with even more piercing screams in front of everyone. Fortunately, several gentlemen stepped in to defuse the situation. During their conversation, she finally learned the identity of this sharp-tongued man. In England at that time, it was common to judge people by their accent. Henry, being a professor of linguistics, claimed that in just 6 months, he could train the crude flower girl to become a lady suitable for a palace ball. The speaker may have been casual, but the listener took it to heart. This promising prospect took root in Eliza's mind. The next morning, dressed in her most respectable clothes, she knocked on Henry's door. But Henry frowned as soon as he heard her voice. He detested her duck-like squawk. However, Eliza stated that she was there to learn and was willing to pay a coin as tuition. Henry laughed in anger and was about to chase away this shameless person. But the colonel, who was temporarily staying at his house, was moved by Eliza's persistence. He seized the opportunity to propose a bet. If Eliza could successfully attend a ball without having her true identity discovered after 6 months, the colonel would cover all expenses. The proud Henry immediately accepted the wager. But the 6-month transformation proved far more difficult than imagined. Since Eliza had grown up in the slums, she hadn't bathed in 4 or 5 years. Henry even told the maid to use sandpaper on areas that couldn't be cleaned properly. Eliza saw a steaming bathtub for the first time.
Oh, what's this? This where you wash clothes?
This is where we wash ourselves, Eliza, and where I'm going to wash you.
You expect me to get into that and wet myself all over? Not me!
Looking at the rising steam, she screamed in shock repeatedly, but the servants surrounded her, ignoring her struggles. For a moment, her rough screams echoed throughout the mansion, and this was merely the first step in transforming her into a lady. This was the flower girl's first time seeing a bathtub. Staring at the rising steam, she was terrified and screamed repeatedly. But before she could prepare herself, the servants surrounded her. Suddenly, her piercing screams echoed throughout the mansion, and this was merely the beginning of the troubles. Because this London street flower girl had to be completely transformed into a genuine socialite within 6 months. Her ear-splitting, pig-like accent became the biggest obstacle. So Henry brought out special tools to train her. One end connected to a flame and the other to an air tube. Only when she produced the correct sound would the flame grow larger. But Eliza just found it amusing and was quickly distracted by a rotating mirror, nearly setting the professor's house on fire. Meanwhile, word spread like wildfire. Eliza's father rushed over, pretending he wanted to take his daughter home as a threat to Henry. To his surprise, Henry remained completely calm and was willing to let her go. Now it was the father who panicked. He quickly declared that for just £5 of drinking money, he would sever all ties with his daughter. Henry, well acquainted with such poor people's tactics, wasn't surprised at all. Being able to help the girl escape her terrible father for £5 made him more than happy to oblige. With money in hand, the father hurried to leave. But unexpectedly, he bumped into a young, beautiful girl.
Beg your pardon, miss.
I won't say those ruddy vows one more time.
Blimey, it's Eliza. Well, I never thought she'd clean up so good looking. She does me credit, don't she, Governor?
Looking at her father's smug face, Eliza instantly understood his intentions, but he couldn't openly admit he came to sell his daughter. Before leaving, he still pretended to maintain his authority by telling Henry,
If you have any trouble with her, Governor, give her a few licks of the strap. That's the way to improve her mind. Well, good morning, gentlemen. Cheerio, Eliza.
Watching Eliza's father leave, Henry became more sympathetic toward her. Growing up in an environment of constant beatings and verbal abuse, it was already remarkable she had made it this far. However, Eliza's learning ability was frustrating. After 3 days of studying vowels, she made zero progress and kept threatening to quit with her grating voice. Their arguments continued until the colonel intervened to mediate. Subsequently, Henry devised a brilliant strategy, using food to motivate her studies. If she couldn't learn, she would go hungry. The delicious food so tantalizingly close yet unreachable finally forced her to practice diligently. But breaking a 20-year-old dialect habit was easier said than done. Henry tried every teaching aid with minimal results, yet at his most discouraged moment, he heard Eliza speak.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I think she's got it. I think she's got it.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Overjoyed, Henry took her to the racetrack to test her progress. That day, Eliza in her white dress became the center of attention. The aristocrats speculated about her identity, but no one knew the truth. Henry was satisfied seeing her respond with elegance. There was even a wealthy bachelor who fell for her at first sight. But just when victory seemed within reach, Eliza suddenly erupted with an inappropriate outburst. This crude language was like a bolt from the blue. Henry's mother was devastated, believing it was all wasted effort. Eliza was also filled with self-reproach but couldn't control herself. The colonel suggested abandoning the bet, feeling that high society's rigid standards shouldn't be forced upon an innocent girl. Better to be a happy flower girl than lose her true self. Only the wealthy bachelor, after witnessing her performance, found her even more unique, his perfect match. So he rushed over with fresh flowers, but due to shyness, had his nanny deliver them. By chance, Henry witnessed this pure affection, reinforcing his belief that Eliza could successfully transform. So he immediately arranged for her to attend the Queen's embassy ball. This time, he would create a true lady from the inside out. The London street flower girl transformed completely, becoming an aristocratic lady who captivated everyone's attention. Dressed in a white gown and adorned with a dazzling diamond tiara, she radiated brilliance and stunned all who saw her. Even the usually stern professor was left speechless at the sight of her. He personally draped a red velvet coat over Eliza's shoulders and gently raised his arm to escort her to the Queen's embassy ball. Despite the presence of nobility from royal courts around the world, Eliza's entrance still astonished everyone. Even the Queen of Romania couldn't help but praise her.
Charming, quite charming.
As the most outstanding young woman at the event, Eliza became the prince's partner for the opening dance. However, her mysterious background aroused curiosity among some guests. The ambassador's wife sent Henry's student to investigate the truth. But this expert in distinguishing genuine nobility surprisingly declared her to be an authentic Hungarian princess. Henry couldn't stop laughing when he heard this. In just 6 short months, he had truly elevated a flower girl to divine status. Back home, the colonel was deeply impressed by Henry's teaching. The two men raised their glasses to celebrate this hard-won victory, completely unaware that Eliza was hiding in a corner, crying alone. Although her exterior had perfectly transformed, she could never change her identity as a flower girl from the slums. What broke her heart even more was that she had fallen in love with Henry, yet didn't know how to cross the immense class divide between them. She wandered back to the slums, but the people there no longer recognized her transformed appearance. Even her alcohol-loving father had become a wealthy man. It turned out Henry had secretly arranged for him to inherit a massive fortune. This truth made her even more sorrowful. Meanwhile, Henry was frantically searching for Eliza. He had always viewed her as his possession rather than someone he truly cared about. Only after losing her did he suddenly realize that he had long ago fallen in love with this flower girl. It wasn't until he confided in his mother that he discovered Eliza was there all along. His open-minded mother believed that as long as her son was happy, his partner's background didn't matter at all. With this implicit approval, Henry finally became willing to face his true feelings. But Eliza, despite her humble status, had her own dignity. She understood that in Henry's eyes, she was still that lowly flower girl. If this perception didn't change, they could never be happy together.
Goodbye, Professor Higgins. You shall not be seeing me again.
Watching her leave, Henry felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. Back home, he kept replaying their teaching recordings over and over.
Oh, we are proud. I'm come to have lessons, I am, and to pay for 'em too, make no mistake.
What is it you want, my girl?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop, instead of selling at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
In his days, he seemed to hear Eliza returning.
He said he could teach me. Well, here I am, ready to pay, not asking any favour, and he treats me as if I was dirt. I know.
My Fair Lady is not just a Cinderella transformation story. It explores profound social issues of class, identity, and gender. Eliza's growth isn't merely about learning external etiquette, but rather an awakening to her own self-worth. A true lady doesn't just possess an elegant appearance, but also an independent and confident heart.
I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
Where the devil are my slippers?
The film ends here. This movie is called My Fair Lady. Looking forward to our next meeting.